call to order the Town of McCandless Council's regular business meeting for January 22nd, 2018. Our first order of business is the invocation by Councilman Kirk. Following that will be the Pledge of Allegiance.
Holy and gracious God, Lord of loving kindness, we thank you today for the gift of this town, for its streams, its hills and valleys, and for each one of our neighborhoods. We pray for the town of McCandless for peace and prosperity, for unity and understanding, to uplift our town and to protect those who are under our care. Bless our first responders and the men and women of our armed forces for their willingness to go into harm's way on behalf of others, or against those who would do us harm. We thank you for all the people of this town, men and women from both near and far, living together in peace and hopeful for the future of our town, our country, and our world. We ask your blessing for us, that we may in fact realize a faith-filled love that respects every single person, that respects all life, and which seeks to build connections in our community. We pray for government cooperation, civility, and respectful discourse at all levels of governance. May we always meet the disagreements inevitable in our democratic process with respect and understanding. Give us the wisdom, the courage, the strength, the hope, and the faith that can, in fact, continue to help McCandless become the community of our dreams. Lastly, let us pray for all elected officials. Bless them with compassion and kindness. Preserve their honesty and humility. We pray this in your name with open minds and open hearts. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Of announcements that we have to get started is just in case you missed the change. There's no public hearing tonight for the proposed new sheets development on Perry Highway as requested by the legal counsel, 2 sheets for rescheduling. Another announcement is March 27th is going to be the date for the emergency management training for town council. Toby has one.
Just to remind everybody, you may have heard or seen that we're having an open house on our comprehensive planning process in this room next Tuesday, January 30th. Doors open at 5:30 and close up at 8 o'clock. So please come and give input and have some discussion with various members of our steering committee that will be present. Thank you.
Madam President, would you be kind enough to please repeat the scheduling of the training?
March 27th.
March 27th.
It'll be in the evening. You'll get more information.
Okay, March 27th.
Right, just to give you, so you can, a little heads up, so you can mark your calendar. You're welcome.
Can I proceed with number 4?
Reports to committees, finance. Oh, excuse me, I'm so sorry. Minutes.
You asked me to do number 4, I thought.
I did.
Shall I proceed?
Yes.
Move to approve the minutes of council's regular business meeting of December 18, 2017, and organizational meeting of January 2nd, 2018, as submitted to each member of council.
Second.
A motion has been made to approve the minutes. We have a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain on the December 18th minutes.
Noted.
Reason for abstention, please.
I was not seated as a council member yet.
So I guess I have to do the same, right? Yeah, okay.
The minutes are approved. Now we're ready for reports from the committees. Under Finance and Personnel Committee,
I move to ratify check listing number 1 dated December 8th, 2017 through January 10th, 2018, totaling $816,731.92 as submitted to each member of council and posted on the bulletin board.
Second.
There's been a motion to ratify the checklist, number one, and a second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Usually at the end.
For this meeting, there's an opportunity at each motion.
No questions by council? Any questions from the audience, citizens? Okay. If there are no questions, we'll vote on the motion. There is a motion and a second to ratify the checklist. All those in favor? Say
Aye.
All those opposed? The motion carries. Number two.
I move to adopt resolution number 1, a resolution amending resolution number 18 of 2017, setting dates of various meetings of the Town of Council and other town agencies for the year of 2018 by rescheduling Town's Council, Public Safety, Services, Public Works, and Recreation Committees to the second Monday of each month, beginning March 2018.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any comment, members of council?
If I may comment?
Okay, go ahead.
Just a brief comment that Town Council has gone forward with wanting to do this to condense our meeting schedule. This has been discussed at committee meetings. We will advertise this every way possible so that folks know about this condensed schedule, and we're waiting until March to carry it out.
Any comments from the audience? Okay, if there are no further comments, we have a motion and a second to adopt resolution number 1. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Zoning Committee?
I move to approve the request from Vincentian Collaborative Services to modify the land development approval for Terrace Place at Vincentian, approved at the November 27, 2017 Town Council Business Meeting, to reduce the number of parking spaces required from 137 to 105, with the understanding that A, Vincentian Collaborative Services shall be responsible for conducting parking demand studies during the peak times of the operation over the course of the first 2 years after the initial occupancy as directed by the town. B, should it be determined by the town that 95% or more of all available on-site spaces at Terrace Place at Vincentian are occupied on 6 occasions during this 2-year period, Vincentian Collaborative Services shall be responsible for installing the required parking spaces as per the plan approved on November 27, 2017. C, an escrow of $1,000 for potential town traffic engineer review will be required prior to occupancy. And D, Vincentian Collaborative Services must accept the conditions in writing within 15 days of written notice of town approval.
I second the motion.
There has been a motion and a second. This was actually a suggestion from council that if all the spaces weren't necessarily required, that we could possibly put off putting in all of the spaces to keep, that property has so much problem with drainage, and to have some more green space there. So this allows us to keep the option open in case the traffic studies are wrong and they need those areas to be developed. They've agreed to develop them later. So
All of that will be in writing,
right here it is.
right?
It's right here. This is the actual motion. Any comments from council? Any comments from the audience? Okay, if there are no further comments, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion
Second motion, I move to approve the land development application of Pool Construction, Inc. for a preliminary and final plan subdivision to be known as Park Edge 2, a 5-lot, single-family residential subdivision located at 9801 3 Degree Road, the site of the former Kotobi Restaurant adjacent to Park Place Complex, just west of Babcock Boulevard, as per project number 17-12559, prepared by the Hampton Technical Associates, dated April 21st, 2017, with the latest revision being January 8, 2018, subject to A, approval of the Allegheny County to construct sidewalks as shown on the plan. Should sidewalks not be permitted in the county right-of-way, sidewalks shall be constructed in a location approved by the town. And B, the signing of a subdivision and land development agreement pertinent to any public improvements relative to this plan, posting the necessary bonds and completion surety relative to the same.
Is there a second?
I second the motion, noting the Hampton Technical Associates preparation was August 21st, 2017.
Thank you. There was a motion and a second. Are there any questions or comments from council?
Madam President,
Yes,
I'm glad to see the sidewalks are in the plan.
noted. Are there any comments from the citizens? Okay, if there are no comments from council or the citizens, there's a motion and a second to approve this land application. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Public safety.
I move to authorize a purchase for 4 Ford Explorers with police package and warranty at a price of $30,000 each, totaling $120,000 from Whitmore Auto Group under the Pennsylvania CoStarz contract 13-110.
Second.
There is a motion to authorize purchase of the police cars and the second. Are there any questions from council? Any comments? This actually came in under what we budgeted for. We got a very good price through CoStar for these prices, so that was a nice surprise. There are no comments. Are there any comments or questions from the audience? Okay, hearing none, there's a motion and a second to adopt this development application. All those in favor?
I'm sorry, it was this purchase of the
Oh, I'm sorry, the Ford Explorers, I apologize. For the police package, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries.
Madam President, I move to authorize the purchase of a 42,000 GVW International 7400 SFA 4x2 truck chassis from Hill International Trucks at a price of $86,973 under Pennsylvania CoStarz contract number 025-127. Awarded of this purchase under the contract takes advantage of a factory discount available to Hill International Trucks, which is good through January 31st, 2018.
There is a motion on the floor to authorize the purchase of a truck. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a second. Any comments or questions by council? We got a good price on this. What were the numbers?
The numbers. The second highest bid is about $88,000. The third highest was $99,000. And this bid, the reason for expediting this is obviously this deadline. Public Works was working toward a February approval from council, but when Hill notified us that their price was actually reduced by $2,300 beyond their CoStarz price, we thought we had to take advantage of that. And just real quickly, I pulled had the records pulled for the last time we bought a 10-ton dump truck, which was January 24th, almost to the very day, in 2014, 4 years ago, and the price on state bid for that truck was $84,486. So we got a good price.
Thank you. Any comments from the audience? There's a motion on the floor to authorize the purchase of this truck and a second. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. This is the part of the meeting where we have public comment. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to make a comment? Yes.
Georgiana Lycar, Grubbs Road, Wexford. I received this in the mail on Saturday, a postcard asking for my input. And I would imagine everybody has received this by now. It says the town of McCandless wants your opinion. And this is in regard to the long-term planning project, the comprehensive plan. And I believe it is very important that everybody does have a chance to weigh in on this. However, when I looked at the ways to find the questionnaire and weigh in on it, there's 3 options, and one's a Survey Monkey. The other one is scanning this QR code, and I don't know what that is. I mean, I do use the internet, but I'm not that savvy. And the last is contacting Mary Lopez from Land Use Zoning Office. So as a senior citizen myself, quickly approaching 70, I started doing some research as far as how many senior citizens really use the internet or know what a Survey Monkey is. So I found out through the Pew research that there are only 57% of seniors, 57% of seniors from the age 50 upwards do not use the internet. And the town of McCandless, according to the last census, was 28,000 residents, of which 11,613 or 41.4% are over the age of 50. So therefore, a sampling of those residents over the age of 50 may not be accurate because they don't use the internet. So I truly believe if you really want to get the opinion of the seniors in town, and unfortunately it starts from 50 and goes up from there, this should have been a paper mailer to all citizens in the first place, rather than asking them to go on the internet, which many don't, in the senior group, or scanning this code, which I don't even know how to do that, or contacting Mary, and I don't know how many phone calls she's received already, but that could be quite burdensome. So just a suggestion to the Comprehensive Planning Committee, if they want to get a more accurate look at what the seniors in this town want, I think they should be able to weigh in. Thank you.
Thank you. I am on the comprehensive plan, actually, and I was also under the impression that the full survey was going to go out, that it was not going to be a card like that, and so that people could have the option to fill out the hard copy or to do it electronically. I actually have an email in to the people who are helping us to talk to them about that, because that was my understanding. Did anyone else have that understanding? It's on the committee.
That may be what they're going to do, Madam President. No, Madam Chair, this is it. Okay, I think it's a point well taken.
I agree. I think it is too. I thought the full survey was going to go out.
May I comment on that?
Yes.
This was a subject of a lot of discussion that we had, and the point is, this is not a random survey. It's not a scientific survey. Scientific survey would not do everybody in the town. It wouldn't contact. Probably get about 1,500 people, and then it'd be a plus or minus standard deviation from that. So the intent of this is just to gather some information. It is one of the many tools that we are using. So we have received probably at least 25 calls so far, and are sending out surveys. Some people are having trouble with the Survey Monkey in that they are missing the R in the code. So we've had about 5 people email us about that, and I think we've got most of them straightened out. It's also on our website. A lot of people have chosen to go on the website and get that also. So I just wanted to point out that this is not a scientific survey in the sense that it's going to get us. It's just a tool, one of the many tools that we'll be using. When I say we, it'll be mostly Paschik Associates doing that.
Bruce, Betty, and I talked extensively with representatives from our consultant, and I was lobbying for a mail survey, And it's not my decision, and so I thought that would have been productive. However, they explained that how few people are responding in their experience. They've done over 100 such studies like ours, and they thought that the expense of $10,000 plus of mailing would be excessive for the amount of return that we get. So we brainstormed with them multiple times, Bruce and I did, about coming up with a way of notifying everybody hard copy, which is the postcard, which cost about $3,000, I think, total.
Okay. Yes.
Irene Caliendo, 411 Haw. I'm just wondering, at the open house next week, will the hard copy surveys perhaps be available there? So at least if the people coming through there, they can pick them up at that point in time. I realize you may only get 50 people come through, but you know that, I know you don't have any idea how many people are going to show up next week.
That's a great idea. It's a great idea.
You know,
Thank
but
you.
just another, one more way for somebody to get access.
That's easy to do. We can do that.
And we have mailed out how many, Mr. Betty?
I don't know the exact number, but we had at least 25 calls in the last 2 days.
The number I got was 14
That was the
through
first day.
Friday. And that was one day that the survey was
And
out.
today we had more.
Any
I have
other?
a question, Madam President.
Yes.
Are there, if there are, you could describe them, please, I just told you, there are additional efforts at communicating with our residents beyond the postcard. Is that correct?
Yes, we have it on our Facebook page. We also have it on our website. And that was a great idea to have it at our open house. So that we'll be doing that also. And the postcard and the survey, again, is only one of the tools that the consultant will be using. And this is in no way intended to be a scientific survey. It is intended to get information. It is a questionnaire, and it's just intended to gather information from to get as much information as possible to help us with the comprehensive plan.
Thank you. You said a couple of times that this is only one of the means of getting information. What are the other means? If you could just touch on those, please.
Sure, they'll be doing some key person interviews will be the next one. Well, no, the next one will be the open house, and we'll be gathering information at the open house. But we'll also be gathering information through key person interviews. So we're in the process of identifying key persons. I think each of the steering committee members was asked to submit names for key person interviews, and that will be the next part. We also talked about doing focus groups, and I don't think we've come to a conclusion on doing the focus groups yet, but that's one of the other ideas that we're kicking around.
Thank you. I think focus groups are a good idea. That's my reaction anyway. But that's fine. Thank you.
Madam Chair, without having specific numbers ever given to me, I would have to say that the consultants were, I'll use the word ecstatic, about our first focus group, which was Community Day. They had a booth right by the picnic pavilion, and I was working across from them for some hours, and they had steady traffic. And after they concluded that day, they thought they had a lot of good input. That they were very pleased with that start to this.
Any other public comment?
Barbara Richards, Manor Court. I would like to start by reading what our town charter says is a duty of this municipality. Quote, to provide for the health and well-being of its citizens and the safety of persons and property within the town, end quote. I am commenting on what was said at the recent agenda review meeting. It appears that council will be allowing the town managers and staff to look into researching and updating the codes that apply to indoor firing ranges. They do not exist. And what I heard that was done and said at here's what I heard and was done and said at the review meeting. A decision was made the town and staff would look into updating or in this case, creating zoning and health and safety codes that address indoor firing ranges. Since we have none in place, now it seems absurd to move forward without looking at the past and present and fixing the sad fact that the town now has an indoor firing range being built in our town with approvals from at least 5 of the 2016 town council members, who have even admitted on meeting tapes that they did not agree with. The council continues to regale a businessman that has proven to be a bully of its own residents and institutions, a rude, self-righteous individual who has insulted many directly or through a third party. Now, he has not even answered the town's request for clarification regarding his unregulated building of a potentially hazardous business. He left the town hanging for 6 months and still refuses to answer, and then showing up for a 6-month overdue meeting without answers. Do you accept that from him? Did you even know about that? Do you think he's nice, in quotes, as council stated? I hope that this council will be accountable for what the 2016 council didn't do for the people of McCandless in March 2016, when they approved an indoor firing range at McCandless Crossing without any local oversight or assurance of safety. They blindly engaged our community in a potentially hazardous business that was deliberately kept from citizens who had no idea what was coming. They allowed an unregulated public gun shooting range without even checking with the residents or considering our cherished institutions within view and earshot, some of which are in this audience tonight. Before going forward, please practice the accountability you profess. Don't put this back in the hands of an administration that used the council and its votes to furthermore disregard for community safety and public opinion. Please look back. Take a hard look at how McCandless came to approve and continues to allow a public firing range with no local regulations in place to operate in its planned location. Do you really believe that all rules, zoning and otherwise, were properly followed, as Mr. Kordick likes to tell everyone? Do you know what those rules are? I've tried to find out, but all I get are fully redacted documents from the town. Client-attorney privilege. Really? What are you protecting? I've also asked for the original office building plan that the 2016 council approved, but I was told by Bruce Betty that it was missing. So maybe you could start there. I hope for everyone's sake that all is really in order.
If you'd like me to. I should. We can, but just open to them. But if you'd like me to.
Okay. Mr. Kordick, would you like to address some of that?
The town zoning code currently has no regulations governing firing ranges. And I might ask our solicitor for input as well, Madam Chairman, about subsequent discussions that we've had since the adoption or the approval of the plan, the building plan for the where the impacts is going to be housed. The day after Mr. Rosenberg made comments at council's request at a public meeting, he contacted me. I was about to actually contact him, and I said, at some point we are going to have an idea of what you're doing, what we can regulate, or what you would like to voluntarily regulate, or have us regulate. So we got advice from legal counsel that there is no municipality is permitted to regulate gun ranges in Pennsylvania. There's a state law that prohibits that. Mr. Rosenberg, the building that Mr. Rosenberg and Impacts intends to occupy, his construction has been going on now for some time, a couple of months. And I, after hearing from legal counsel, in part to Mr. Robb, this is Gavin Robb, he doesn't have a nameplate, he's here on behalf of Tucker Aaronsburg tonight, and his associate, Chris Volz, were able to discern that there are some communities that have attempted to have zoning ordinances passed. Whether or not they've been challenged or not, I'm not aware yet. But if there is something that we can have in place under zoning for future gun ranges, we thought that it would be a great idea for us to have that in place. Meanwhile, we have a person who's going to open up a business who has been quite willing to meet. I made the request. I said, I'd like to meet with you. Met with our chief of police, me and Mr. Betty, for about 2 hours a couple of weeks ago, which I put in my manager's report. And that meeting bore a lot of fruit. Mr. Rosenberg had, I would say, approximately 6 inches high of paper of templates that he has prepared for operation of his business, the various federal and other regulations that he has to comply with. And we discussed how he would submit information, what he would be able to that wasn't proprietary since it is voluntary. But his operation, again, as we have seen in the past so far and heard, is bearing fruit as to what he has documented and how he has prepared his business plan. We asked for certain things. There is a very old ordinance that was pointed out to us by a member of the audience that night. I think it was Mr. Cassane, Dennis Cassane, that made comments about the ordinance that we have in place. And we're going to be able to use that ordinance as a health and safety welfare ordinance, at least to the extent of what we can. And so that has health and safety and welfare ordinances have nothing to do with a zoning ordinance. Zoning ordinances are proactive. So whatever is in a code at the time of a submittal is what we must follow. So we have what appears on each occasion that I've had to meet with Mr. Rosenberg, a very willing person to share his business and his method of operation with us. And it seems, and based on my view of it, the chief of police's view, who's not here to speak for himself, but he can at a future date if necessary, as to his take on it, he was very impressed with the plan that we're seeing, as was Mr. Betty. If you'd like his comments, he could give them, Madam Chairman. So we intend to move forward, at least to bring information to Town Council to see what zoning, types of zoning amendments we would be able to pass and have and be able to stand a test in court before we would adopt them. But we thought it would be fruitful to have that for the future.
May I be recognized for a brief moment? On the radio in the morning, I listen to the radio pretty early, and there are a lot of ads on the radio. I think it's 1320 on the dial, if anybody happens to be interested, advertising the fact that a gun range has been established, identified as Cranberry Township. Now, I don't know precisely what it is, but I've heard it literally 20 plus times. It's always on. Precisely what the nature of that gun range is, I don't know. But the thought occurs to me that we might benefit from communicating with Cranberry, if that is the municipality, and find out what they have done and what regulatory efforts they've made to regulate the operation and building of the gun range that's at issue here, at issue in Cranberry, and we might benefit from that. Just a thought.
Okay. We're going to let everyone have the first chance to speak, and then if you want to speak a second time, you can. Was there anyone else who wanted to speak a first time? Okay.
Hello, my name's Don Muller, 1501 Montgomery Road. At the last town council meeting, Mr. Kirk proposed a resolution to open an investigation into the Mertz matter. Could you please update us on the status of that resolution?
At the last meeting, which everyone, of course, is on our town website and is on is posted on YouTube, can be viewed at any time. Council decided at that time not to pursue a legal investigation, which would have cost the town $5,000 to $10,000, but decided to, among ourselves, to discuss this matter and to find what we felt like was a satisfactory solution to resolve this matter. And council's resolution or council's decision was that there would be 4 letters of apologies that would be written, as well as future, for a better word, language control, I guess I'm sorry, I can't think of a better word than that. And that would, when those 5 stipulations were met, that the investigation would be concluded. And so that's where we are with that. I believe those letters of apology have been written. I do not think they have been.
They were signed.
Oh, they were sent? All right.
They were signed tonight.
They were signed, okay,
Mr.
all right.
Mertz
They
signed.
were signed and should be going in the mail tomorrow. And they're going to be certified?
Madam Chairman?
They're going
I'm sorry.
certified, and each member of council is to get a copy.
Okay, all right.
Did I misunderstand at our meeting when this topic was discussed, that there would be an opportunity to review those letters before they're signed and mailed out?
I don't recall that being the case.
Yes, that's what we said.
Before they were sent?
Yes. Yes, council was to
Okay.
see those before
Okay.
they were mailed.
All right, well, we have them. They haven't been mailed yet, so we have those.
Yeah, not had the chance to look at them. I thought that was one of the ideas.
Okay, all right,
I see heads shaking over there.
Okay.
Are you in agreement?
Okay.
Do you?
It doesn't matter, but I did not think that was what we decided, but
I
I
was
see no
thinking we said that
difference.
they were going to be sent electronically, but that's fine. Okay, all right, that's
It
fine.
was originally electronically, and then council said that how about the town sends those out certified mail? And that was the last I had recall.
Madam President?
Yes?
Yes. For the benefit of the members of the audience that were not here at that meeting, and just to clarify, when my resolution for an investigative hearing was presented to this council, Council President asked respectfully, was there any way to avoid the potential costs associated with this, and what was the goal? What was the reason that we needed to proceed with this? She directed that question to me, having provided the resolution. And I said, quite frankly, what the aggrieved parties need is an apology. They need Mr. Mertz to stop blaming others for his actions, to take responsibility for his actions, to provide a contrite written apology so that all of the aggrieved parties would know that he was sincerely sorry for his actions, that he knew they were inappropriate. Mr. Mertz agreed to those terms. The aggrieved parties were listed as the family here before us and the children who suffered that indignation. Councilman, at the time, Councilman Ralph Ladon, who was slandered, Councilwoman Joanne Powers, and the entire parish of St. Alexis. And Mr. Mertz gave us his word that he would comply with that. I want everyone to know that the reason I agreed with that, first of all, I know that the aggrieved parties, they're all good people, and I know that that's what they wanted, number one. I know that this council, if we can all come together this way, it will protect the integrity of this council going forward and maybe make all of us better people. I think that the ability of this council to do anything beyond a public reprimand or censure was not there. And so, in my judgment, and I think in the judgment of the balance of this council, that if those apologies were forthcoming, that a public reprimand then would not be necessary. If they are not forthcoming, then we will go down that track and any other track that's available to us. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Are there any other comments or questions?
On a positive note, I read the environmental report, Rita Martin, 10585 Grubbs Road, and I read the entire environmental report that was given, Environmental Council or group or whatever it's called. And I'm so impressed with what they've accomplished this year. And I want to thank you, Ms. Zachary, because it was one of your campaign goals to create an environment council. We didn't have one before you and the new newly elected people came on board, and I'm so proud that we have one. It's doing great work. I want to thank people that are on it. Brian Morth put a lot of time into the all the green space map. It's wonderful. I've looked at that. And I think Ken Alshaus did a great job on the trail thing. And everyone's working so hard on that committee. And I think it's going to be wonderful for McCandless moving forward, keeping that committee. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That is a great committee. The people on that committee are just so qualified and so hardworking. And thank you, Rita. I can't say enough good things about them. I'm a little partial, but I can't say enough good things about them either. It's you.
My name's Mark Donatelli, and I live up on Griffith. Madam President, Council. I've been hearing this quite a lot of times. I wasn't there when this all happened. But there's a couple things I do want to go over. Councilman Mertz is one of the really a great fella. And I know he does a lot of good things in his community. I've seen it, and I've heard it from a lot of people. And the way he's been treated, I don't think he was been treated right at all. Now, I want to talk to our attorney, if possible. Under the Home Rule Charter, okay, is there laws pertaining to targeting candidates and targeting public officials and targeting our police department, our police officers?
I am sorry, Mr. Donatelli, but if you have specific questions to our legal department, you're going to have to put that in writing and send to them.
Okay, I will.
If there's some, you can certainly address any concerns that you have, but it's not appropriate for you to ask him.
Okay, thank you very much.
Legal questions, I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you.
Is everyone who wants to speak a first time spoken? Tonight, I think our meeting policy is a one-time 5 minutes a night, but tonight we'll have a second time be fine. Go ahead, Barb.
Well, going back to what I was addressing before and that Mr. Cordick commented on, I would just like to say that I hope you understand the spirit of what I was saying about what happened in 2016, and that we cannot go forward without looking back at what happened, that we don't get caught up in semantics and zoning codes and regulations. I'm not sure if regulations or ordinances or codes are the right words, but the spirit of not allowing the people a voice and not doing your due diligence at that time is what pains this community, a lot of people in this community. And as a result, we have a potentially hazardous business in close proximity to many institutions and residents right now. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to clarify, Mr. McKinney, you were asking about the shooting range in Cranberry. It is called, it's called the Keystone Shooting Center. And it has a Mars address, but it's actually in Warrendale. It's beside the old Sheridan up there, which I believe is another hotel now. And there's 2 restaurants in that area also. But there's nothing else around. There's nothing, no homes, no schools, nothing. And it passed through all their zoning regulations without any pretense of what it would be. And furthermore, if you do recall, I spoke about the total containment bullet trap system that this range has, and that's what I was referencing about 2 months ago. It's the state-of-the-art bullet containment trap system. In other words, whenever you fire, it goes somewhere. And the type of system that this will be in McCandless Crossing, it drops down, and then it's gathered up, and then it goes elsewhere to be disposed of. This particular operation, this Keystone, has this TCT system, which is state-of-the-art, so that there's type of a negative pressure inside of the range that all type of minute particles, microns or whatever, are immediately sucked out of the air and go nowhere. They do not fall on the shooter. They do not fall on their clothing. They're gone. And that's why they call it the total containment system. This is state-of-the-art. This is what people should be looking at when they are shooting, because they don't want to bring that lead home with them, on their clothes, into their cars, and as I said about 2 months ago, into the movie theaters. So how do we know if this range is going to make it mandatory? As I said before, the CDC said that the best practices is with this type of shooting range like that where the bullets drop, you should shower, change clothes before you leave the range. Otherwise, you're going to bring contamination out there. I mean, if you can imagine Pigpen from the comic strip, it'll be like that. The person, the shooter, will have this cloud of dust of lead around them. They'll go in the movie theater. They'll go into the restaurants. They'll deposit it there. Kids go to these places, and no amount of lead is safe for any child. So just to reiterate what I said about 2 months ago. Thank you.
Just a real quick question. I don't know the answer to this question, but implicit in what you just said, Georgianne, is that the Cranberry site has these controls.
Yes.
But this one it's at issue in McCandless does not. Is that what you're saying?
As far as I know, on his website, when he first announced the type of bullet containment system he had, it was not this TCT system. It was the old-fashioned system, which is much less expensive. Very less expensive.
There's a difference. You were at least under the impression there's a difference between his system and the system in Cranberry, right?
Absolutely.
Now, there's also, I'm not picking on our Allegheny County Police, but we also have a firing range right up there in North Park that I can hear from my house all the time, which is fine. That's not a complaint on my part. But what controls do they have?
Well, it's an indoor.
They're firing away into the hillside. Is that good?
It's still outdoor.
I don't know.
It is. It's outdoor. Outdoor is outdoor. You know, it can go up to the hillside. It can land elsewhere. But inside, you're inside. You know, you've got a sealed environment, especially because of the soundproofing that you need for such a company like that. So.
I was just asking a couple of questions.
Oh, yeah. No, it's fine. No, it makes sense. Most people have shot in the past, you know, in the outdoor ranges. They still do that everywhere at outdoor ranges. And it's also, but that range, too, you know, it's still not in a shopping center, you know, the outdoor range. There's no outdoor ranges in shopping centers, to my knowledge, in this country. And even the indoor ranges are far and few in between that are near people and churches and schools and so forth. So, thank you.
Thank you.
There's interaction. That's fair.
Are there any other comments?
If I may, what we can vet, I don't know what, but we will ask certainly what. I think this probably sounds like this range you're talking about, Ms. Leichhardt, is in Marshall Township. We'll find out easily enough. But I alluded to a stack of papers, and nobody wants to hear me talk in generalities tonight, I'm sure. But there was a significant content about the state-of-the-art containment system that Mr. Rosenberg intends to put in impacts. So rather than talk about generalities tonight, let's suffice to say that's we have anything we can publicize. We're going to publicize anything that's proprietary. We won't, and that's what because we're going to follow federal, state, and local laws, as well as the spirit intended. Mr. Rosenberg spoke to us in spirit, not what was required. He didn't have to talk to us, and I'm not just sitting here trying to defend him. I'm interested in fairness and accuracy, and having as good a development as we possibly can have there. And there's a lot of voluntary information that we're being given, showing us what this how this place is going to operate.
If there's no further public comment, the public comment session is closed.
I move to enter into executive session to discuss a personnel matter, letter of agreement with the town attorney, Tucker Arnsberg.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?